What's up, everybody? It's Ronald, and in just 1 minute, you'll hear the newest episode of Time Well Spent. But before that, I want to ask you a quick favor. Tell someone about the show. Pick a friend, or a coworker, or a colleague that may or may not listen to podcasts, and tell them about Time Well Spent. Every subscription to the show helps, and we want the podcast that no one asked for to keep getting new listeners every episode. If you're really feeling generous, and you have an iPhone, leave us a 5-star review using the podcast app. The better the rating, the more likely we can get new ears listening to the show. Now, if you're a brand new listener, thanks for joining us. However, if you haven't listened to the previous episode, bypass, stop right here and go listen to that episode first. This is the second of a 2-part series, and needless to say, listening to this one first will leave you with some questions. So go check that out. And with that, let's start the show.
Previously on Time Well Spent.
A few weeks ago, I decided to let my parents in on a secret I've kept from them for the past 16 years.
I don't know if I like you guys telling us stuff that you guys did when you were younger, and then we're supposed that was okay. And we didn't like it when you guys lied.
So I decided to sneak to prom. Now, mind you, yes, I'm 18. Yes, I'm an adult. Yes, I'm on my way off to college, but that doesn't matter to Peggy Lee or Ronald Sr. They had no qualms about spanking an 18-year-old.
I just regaled a crowd of 400 people the thing I did as a teenager without my parents' knowledge.
Well, I haven't even told y'all the other thing yet.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, see, no, and it's not now.
So clearly this will be a long conversation. Welcome to yet another exciting episode of Time Well Spent with Ronald, the podcast that nobody asked for, yet somebody is listening to. I'm Ronald. All right, let's do a quick recap. Last month, I told a story in front of 400 people about the time I snuck to prom against my parents' wishes. A video of that performance now exists on YouTube. After discussing with my sister Marilyn, I decided it was time to tell my parents before they found out on their own. In my ideal world, we'll all be able to laugh as adults about this caper I went on over 16 years ago. After all, I'm okay, the house is okay, and everything turned out fine. But honestly, I can't actually predict my parents' reaction. But I can record it and hope that goes well. Here's how that conversation started.
Now, let me just tell you, I've been nervous because I feel it in the pit of my stomach, almost like I'm 12 again, or 18 at the time. But the point is, it was really more because I think a lot of what you guys, man, it's hot in here. a lot of what you guys, when we were kids, so recently I saw that you liked a couple of pictures on Facebook of teenagers going to prom.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about prom in general now?
I still wouldn't let you guys go to the prom.
Oh, why not?
Because I just didn't feel like that was something that you needed to do.
Okay.
It wasn't that. I recall an instance where you wanted to go. Do you remember that time Ronald wanted to go to the prom? It was either the prom or...
all-night grad party.
Yes. And we said no, and you were livid. You were beyond angry. How do I know you were beyond angry? You stripped off every one of your pictures off this wall in here, and you sat up all night long. And Marilyn was afraid that you were going to get up and go anyway. Did you go?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I did not go to the all-night grad party.
But you went to the prom. Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes.
How did you manage to go to the prom without us knowing about it?
I can show you the entire story.
Oh, Father. Oh, Lord. Do we want to do this? We don't want to do this one.
Okay.
Do we want to do this one? Are we going to be laughing at this?
I don't know.
How did you end up going to the prom?
So by now, you know the answer to my mother's question. However, my parents don't know the details yet. Last episode, I mentioned to my sister that I would play for them both the discussion she and I had and the video of me telling the prom story at Story District. However, things didn't quite go as I had planned. First of all, my dad, who typically plays more of the enforcer role in the parenting tandem, all of a sudden came alive with question after question. Over the course of this episode, you'll hear continuously as he takes on the role of lead investigator in this proverbial cold case.
You went to the prom. And you want us to know that you went to the prom?
Well, it wasn't really...
We know now. You told us.
Yes, but the
You
thing...
snuck out the house?
Yes.
Where were we?
You were in your room.
Sleep?
Mm-hmm.
You dressed up and went to the prom?
Yeah, I had my tux in the van. I had to drive
In
there.
what van?
Because we were letting him drive at the time.
Oh.
And when did you come back?
It's the same night.
So how did you get back in?
I went through the downstairs door.
So the downstairs door remained open.
Well, Marilyn was up.
So Marilyn is in it too?
Well, she wasn't really in it.
But she knew?
She knew about it, though.
Call her.
So Detective Ronald Young, Sr., decided to call in another suspect, my sister Marilyn, who you'll hear via Facebook video phone. You already know from the last episode she was at least loosely involved and had incriminating knowledge of the day. Now let me take one step back and set the scene for you. I'm 34 years old. I'm in my mother's study in my childhood home. My mother's study used to be my bedroom. I'm sitting on the floor, and my parents are seated in a small couch and a chair next to each other. Let me reiterate. I'm sitting on the floor in my childhood bedroom, and my parents are grilling me about something wrong I just admitted to doing. So to say things were a bit tense would be an understatement. I was glad to have Marilyn join the conversation, even if it was virtually.
Oh, there she is.
Mm-hmm. Let me talk.
Hello? Your dad wants to talk to you.
Marilyn.
Honey, push
Put
this
it-
right here.
Why can't I see you?
You can see me now.
Oh, hello, Dad.
Okay, so why didn't you tell us about Ronald going to the prom?
Oh, God. Oh.
And you was in on it.
No, Dad, see, I wasn't really in on it.
Yes, you were.
I wasn't really in on it, Dad.
Damn.
He
He's sitting right here
Did
too.
he threaten to beat you up or something?
No, he didn't threaten to beat me up.
Did he pay you?
No.
I can tell you what she said. She said, one, I don't think you're going to do this, but if you do, then this is all on you. I had nothing to do with it.
Because I was home from school then.
Why you didn't wake us up?
Oh, Dad, because...
What if something had happened to that boy? You would have woke us up then.
Yeah.
You didn't know you were going to get this conversation today?
I figured it was coming soon. I thought he would warn me and let me know so that I could have some sort of...
I did tell you what I was going to do it.
You told me you were doing it today?
Yes.
I don't remember you saying that, Ronald.
I'm sorry.
That's just like we don't remember he went to the prom.
My mom experienced most of the stages of grief in this conversation. Denial was expressed in her initial disbelief that we disobeyed her. Right now, I'd say we were caught between anger.
What else we don't know?
So that was it.
Do you sell
I
weed?
mean, that was it.
No, Mom.
I thought, I actually thought that y'all knew somehow, that you knew.
How would we have known?
And depression.
I don't know, Mom. I don't know. I thought maybe...
No, we just the dumb parents. We just the dumb parents here sleeping. Here we are. We don't know. We don't know half the stuff that you guys do unless the Lord reveals it to us. It's okay. It was only 16 years ago. It's way too soon. But all right then.
So I'm feeling pretty bad at this point because it's the worst case scenario. My mother seems hurt and betrayed and feels like she failed based on something I did as a teenager. This was difficult for me to navigate because if I were 18, I can't say I wouldn't still do the exact same thing I did. However, as a 34-year-old, I knew I didn't want to hurt my parents or damage our relationship. Here I decided to mention why I even told them about this in the first place, which actually started to shift the conversation a little bit.
So the only reason why I said anything is because I thought that your feelings towards it had changed. If I had known that you had-
Towards proms?
Well, yeah.
But no, my feelings toward you going and not telling us. Matter of fact, you asked us and we said no, right?
Not directly.
Yeah,
No.
we did, yes. Directly.
You didn't ask us if you could go?
So basically I said I told you, I was like, I was trying to tell you that I made prom court, and you was like, what does that mean? And I said, it means I'm finalist for prom king. And you said, oh, they can crown you king even though you're not going to prom. And you said it like a statement. So I never really asked you. That was kind of my lead up to asking, and you kind of headed me off at the pass.
And the answer was no.
Yes.
That was my dad's deep sigh you heard there. From what I could tell in the room that day, my dad's vibe was a mix between incredulity, amusement, surprise, and to some very low amounts, anger. My mother at this point seemed to be stuck in the depression stage of grief, and these were the reactions I was getting without them even seeing the video. However, I believe curiosity started to get the best of my dad, which prompted him to ask my mom about watching the video clip from Story District, which he refers to as the movie. Now, about halfway through this clip, my sister, who had been on the phone and had left, calls back in to provide more context. You'll hear her mention, I was praying all night.
Okay, go ahead. You want to see the movie?
I don't think you
And
do.
we gonna,
I don't think I want to.
okay, because we're going to give us our honest opinion. That's what you want, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
dear Father. Do you really want his...
I mean, overall, more than anything, I'd rather have peace with y'all than have.
You're going to have peace with us.
We can-
You
I
just
mean,
don't
it's
like the
okay.
idea. There ain't no problem with
It's okay.
You did.
I
It's done.
Because it's
The fact
already
that
done
we're not
now.
going to say that we agree with it.
No, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
All right. And ain't nothing of it. I mean, it's just the fact that you did it.
I was
Nothing
praying all
happened to
night.
you.
I didn't sleep
But
that
thank
whole
God.
night.
But the fact is that is not the right way to do things.
Yeah.
And I hope your children don't do that to you.
Yeah, see how
Okay.
you... Because
Right.
you're going to feel some kind of way,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The fact that,
I
you know.
mean...
I didn't know it yet, but this would be the height of their scolding. I began to realize my parents weren't actually reaching any new levels of hurt or disappointment, but rather just upset that they were A, out of the loop on something pretty important, and B, that I had, quote, gotten over on them. I'm using air quotes when I say this because for me, this was never about thumbing my nose at my parents' rules or trying to show that I could outsmart them. I just wanted to go to prom. Much of the reason I had to tell them was because I told the story on the Story District stage. I could have lived and died without ever telling them that I actually went. But now that they did know, curiosity abounded.
You was waiting on us to go to bed?
Yeah, it
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
that late
because
at
we
night.
and brothers used to lift weights downstairs.
So you tipped by the door?
Yes.
You tipped by the door.
You tipped by the door because the door wasn't
It
closed.
wasn't closed. No.
No,
Oh,
he walked by. I knew it was gonna all hit the fan when he tried to leave, and then he left. And so I prayed and I told him he had to let me know he got there. He let me know he got there.
How did he let you know he got there, Marilyn?
Ronald had a cell phone,
I had the track phone, the prepaid one.
and by that time I had a cell phone.
And
Yeah, but
Yeah, 'cause did
what
you
I
know
don't
where the
understand,
phone was?
we have always had that alarm on that door downstairs.
No. How did you manage to get past the alarm?
Y'all jacked it up. That's why the alarm broke down there?
no,
Okay. All right, I'm gonna talk to y'all later. I got
No. Stay
No,
out
I
of it.
didn't do it. I had nothing to do with this.
So I
Big
think.
boy.
So I figured out how to use the bypass function. Because you remember how randomly bypass used to show up
Yeah.
on there and we didn't know what it meant? So,
You actually bypassed the alarm?
Just for that one room.
just for that,
Not
just for
the
that
whole
one
house.
group.
Oh my God, in heaven. Crooks. Criminals.
No,
And you didn't tell me this?
No, I did not.
You bypassed the room, got out, came back in, reset the alarm. What are you?
And
Ocean's 11 or
so-
something?
Well, I didn't reset the alarm until.
When you came back upstairs, we were still snoring.
Yes.
He was snoring, I wasn't.
Yeah, there was breathing coming out of the room.
It wasn't me snoring, he was.
So when you got past there, you felt good?
I mean, I felt relieved. To say good is relative at this point in life. But I most certainly felt a sense of relief, yes.
My parents finally had all the details of prom night, and I never even got to play them the video of my story. Thanks, Detective Ronald Sr. Our conversation went far longer than I played on this episode, 49 minutes in total. However, in the end, I can't have asked for a better resolution. I gave my mother the final word as her journey through the stages of grief had finally resulted in acceptance.
I want to say to 18-year-old Ronald and 21-year-old Marilyn, you should never do this. You should have not done that back then. And you are grounded. Both of you are grounded. You are grounded. Give me your cell phones, your iPads, all of that, and go to your room and think about what you have done.
Okay. I thought you didn't have something for 34-year-old Ronald. That's it?
Oh, that was for both of you all. Both of you all.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Oh, so for 34-year-old Ronald and for 36-year-old Marilyn. We're kind of proud of you now. You've come a long way, and we really appreciate both of you. We're glad that you told us this. We still feel some kind of way, but 17 years is still a little too soon.
It's too soon, Mom.
Too soon. Shut up, you. I'm giving final words. But we'll get over it. We appreciate you telling you. But we see where we have grown, and we've also seen where you have grown as
Absolutely.
well. We've seen where
And we have grown proud of you.
Yes. Hey.
As a teenager, I thought my parents were unreasonably strict. They monitored what I said and did, they had rules to keep me and my sister in line, and in general erred on the side of punishment over leniency. As I got older and began to navigate the world for myself, I've discovered that in most cases my parents were right in their approach. When I consider that I'm a mostly fully functioning adult, not in prison, not dead, and with ambitions for a brighter future, I can't really critique their parenting style. So maybe we diverge a bit in some of our opinions. However, it doesn't really change the fact that their parenting produced two pretty alright humans that made their parents proud. Of course, there are some things I'll change when I raise my own kids, starting with prom. Special thanks to fan favorite Peggy Lee, the original Ronald Young Sr., and my sister, Lady Marilyn Denise. Also, special thanks to Lizzie Peabody for editing support on both parts of the Bypass series, as well as additional narration and writing. The great philosopher Willard Smith was quoted as saying, "Parents just don't understand," and some days I tend to agree with him. However, I'm dedicated to taking an additional minute to reason with them. Sometimes we can win them over to our side. It won't work every time, but we'll find that the conversations born of these intentions will be time well spent. Time Well Spent is a production of OhitsBigRon Studios. Theme and additional music provided by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. Outro music provided by Michael Corte. Do you want to reach out and connect about the show? Have some feedback? You can find me on all the social media things, including Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram, at OhitsBigRon. That's OhitsBigRon. Time Well Spent will be back very soon. Thanks for listening. Turn me up. It's your boy Big Rizzle. Cheese and crackers. It's your boy Big Ronald. Do you know who I am? Cheese and crackers. Cheese and crackers.
What the F was that?
That was that new hit single, Cheese and Crackers.
We didn't even eat cheese and crackers tonight.
No.
True. I have weird oat cakes that my mom left behind. They taste terrible. They taste like something meant for horses to eat.
That's 7 questions and all ran through my head. No, I'm like, nope. I was like, have you eaten horse food before? How do you know that?
Oh, God. I wish I didn't.
Check, check, Ronald. Check, check, Ronald. Check, 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 check. Yo, it's Big Ron. You already know what it is. Okay, here we go.
All right, well.
I see recording this.
I don't know. Dad's all crunching water into the microphone. I suppose not.
It's been recorded.
How do you crunch water?
Show her how you crunch water.